Hey, good morning folks. It's day 3. So if you're just joining me in this video, you haven't seen day 1 and 2. Day 1 was our first leg of the trip, about 7 or 8 miles down the Rapidan River to the confluence of the Rappahannock and Rapidan. The bass fishing was phenomenal. Day 2, again, the bass fishing was phenomenal. And that's where I fished the confluence, as well as running upstream on the Rappahannock a little ways to a really deep hole up there. Again, the bass fishing was incredible. Special guest appearance from a few snakehead too, which really made my day. Day 3 might be the most interesting of all. Heading down there on day 3, I expect to see probably the biggest bass we've seen yet, and I expect to see higher numbers of snakehead as this water flattens out, grass grows up, and it just slows down. But we need to eat breakfast, we need to break camp, and then get on the water. So we got some work to do. All right, folks, I'll catch up with you once we're on the water.
Now, a quick note for y'all. In case you plan on doing this trip yourself, towards the end of the video, I'm going to lay out some tips about this trip, water levels you want to look for, gauge height, because on this trip right here, well, this year, the water was low. Lower than I would have liked. Thankfully, my Hobie Pro Angler, courtesy Delaware Paddle Sports, thanks again. Excellent customer service over there. It held up really well in these rocks. To this day, no issues whatsoever. But that's not to say I didn't have to drag that sucker through a lot of water out here. When that gauge height is below a certain level, it just is what it is, man. You're gonna have to pull that sucker through. But on the 3rd day out, as you're going away from this confluence of the Rapidan and Rappahannock, after a little while, you don't see too much more fast water. So that pedal drive that I packed and didn't use for the first 2 days really came in handy on the way out. But you'll see that. For right now, let's get to the fishing and stick around to the end. I'll talk more about the route and tips for planning it for yourself.
Ooh, got him. Yes. Oh, I had 3 chasing him too. There we go. Man, the little guy is fish of the day so far. She is at ready 12. Little 12. Thanks, buddy. Try this seam real quick. Oh, I got tagged. Oh, got him. Fish on. Fish on. Oh, nice one. Nice one. I knew that seam was going to hold a fish. Gotta get back around these rocks though. Alright, you wanna go that way? We can go that way. That's cool. Come here, little beaut. They fight so hard. Look at him. Smallies just do never say quit, man. They ain't tapped out a day in their lives. Now that is the new fish of the day. Probably what, 14? Nope, not quite. She'll come in at 13 and a half. I think that's number 3 or 4, and she's at 13 and a half. Thanks, beauty.
Now, right about here, folks, is where I have to apologize. Shortly after this is where my GoPro battery died.
I'm ashamed.
And it's a shame, because the number of snakehead and number of bass that I found downstream was exceptional. Caught a lot of largies, a lot of smallies, and finally found that citation size smallie as well. So what I'm going to do now is skip to that citation smallie. I did at least get some video of that one. I'll show that to you. And then I'll round out the video discussing, like I said at the beginning, the route for this trip, as well as some of the different gear that I was using out there. Let's get to that.
Folks, God, I wish my GoPro hadn't died, because I just ran into a school of about 10 smallmouth, all between 15 up to about 20 inches. And guess what? I got the big one. There she is. Look at that beast. Right on the button at 20 inches. Beautiful river smallie. Now, when you catch a big one like this, it's really important to make sure that it recoups before you release it. So I'm just kind of taking her along with me. And she's just biting onto my thumb right now. I'm not holding on to her. She's just there. And as soon as she's ready, she's going to go. Oh, just felt something. She might be getting ready. There she goes. off strong. Yeah, next year, y'all, I promise to bring more battery power. I almost didn't make it on this trip because I was just so strung out for time and trying to get everything ready. Man, what a fish. What a trip it's been. So probably the last time I check in here, y'all. Stick around to the end. I'll give you more details about the trip itself, how you can take it for yourself. And man, it is worth it. Snakehead and smallmouth, those are my top 2 fish for freshwater. God, what a day.
Now folks, if you want to make this run yourself, I always started out by making this solemn plea. I'll give you the information, but make sure whatever you pack in, you pack out. As much as you can, try to preserve this area. That's both in terms of what you pack out and what you take from it. This place is incredible because the people that come here generally respect it. So if you do come out, make sure you take care of it, take care of the fish, so we can keep this place the amazing area that it is. With that being said, if you want to make this drift, the way that we normally do it is we start on the Rapidan over at Ellie's Ford. It's about a 7 or 8 mile trip on that first day down to the confluence of the Rapidan and the Rappahannock. From there are multiple campsites in that area on all sides of both rivers. There's also some down from the confluence as well that you probably saw me drift by. When you try to make that trip out from the confluence down to the takeout point, that's another about 7 or 8 miles. And once you get into basically that last 7 or 8 mile stretch, keep in mind the water slows down, so unless the flows are high, you're going to be doing a lot more paddling or pedaling. Now it's up to you how much you want to pack in here. Some of the guys in our crew pack light. Some guys will come out here with steaks and various different kinds of meals and really do it up at the fire. But that's really on you. You can decide to pack light, or you can pack heavy and live like a king out there whenever you're not fishing. This year is the first year that I took my Hobie Pro Angler down there. It did great. It had excellent storage, plenty of space, and I was incredibly comfortable in that seat. In past years, I used my old Trophy Beach starter kayak. It's like a 10.5 foot sit-in, and by the 3rd or 4th hour, my back was screaming. This time, I went down on my Pro Angler. I'll never go down this thing in another kayak again. I was so comfortable, I was able to focus on the fishing. What an incredible ride. Other gear that I used out here, you can find links to all of it in the video description. Next year I'm going to take a solar charger out there so I can recharge my batteries while I'm on the water. And this is actually the first year I also slept in a hammock. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well, because I don't think I'm going to use a tent down there again. The hammock was so comfortable to sleep in overnight. As far as your fishing tackle goes, I recommend you try to limit yourself to about 1 or 2 plano cases. It's honestly all you really need. As far as the number of rods you take, it's up to you. I like to have 3 or 4. That way if you have any mishaps, you break or lose any, you still have some with you. And of course, as you're going down these rapids or faster water, or just run the risk of, tipping over, make sure anything you want to keep, you have tied off and tied tightly to your kayak or your canoe, whatever you're taking out there. Aside from that, folks, let me know any questions you have. I'm happy to share, but again, if you come out here, please take care of it. I can't wait to get back. Hopefully later this year. Alright folks, if you enjoyed this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And have a good one.